Natural disasters don't strike the world evenly. Some countries experience them as rare interruptions, events that make headlines, disrupt life for a few days, and then fade into memory. Other countries live under constant threat, where floods, earthquakes, storms, and heat waves shape daily life and long-term survival. In this video, we're ranking countries from the least affected to the most affected by natural disasters, based on frequency, severity, geographic exposure, population vulnerability, and long-term impact. As the ranking progresses, the disasters become more frequent, more destructive, and far harder to recover from. Germany does experience natural disasters, but compared to much of the world, they remain relatively limited in scope. The most common threats are river flooding, winter storms, and increasingly frequent heat waves. Flooding along rivers like the Rhine and Elbe can cause economic damage and temporary displacement, but nationwide catastrophe is rare. Earthquakes are extremely uncommon, hurricanes do not occur, and volcanic threats are non-existent. Strong infrastructure, strict building codes, and effective emergency systems mean disasters are usually controlled before they spiral into national emergencies. In Germany, natural disasters are disruptive but rarely devastating. The United Kingdom faces a slightly higher level of risk, though still far from the world's most vulnerable nations. Storms, coastal flooding, river flooding, and heat waves are the primary concerns. Climate change has intensified rainfall patterns, leading to more frequent flooding in certain regions. However, the UK is shielded from earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, and major tropical storms. While natural disasters here can damage infrastructure and strain emergency services, they rarely cause mass casualties. Disasters in the UK are costly and inconvenient, not existential. Australia marks a noticeable shift. The country experiences some of the world's most intense bushfires, with entire ecosystems burning during severe seasons. Heat waves regularly break temperature records, and floods can cover vast areas of land. Cyclones strike the northern coast, sometimes causing serious damage. However, Australia's low population density spreads out the impact. Earthquakes and volcanoes are rare, and strong emergency responses reduce long-term damage. Natural disasters here are intense and visually dramatic, but geographically limited. Italy's disaster risk is shaped by geology. Earthquakes regularly strike different regions, sometimes with deadly consequences. Active volcanoes like Mount Etna and Mount Vesuvius remain constant threats, especially given nearby population centers. Flooding and landslides are also frequent due to mountainous terrain and seasonal rainfall. Still, disasters tend to be regional rather than nationwide. While Italy faces real danger, it has not reached the level of constant national disruption seen in worse affected countries. Mexico sits in one of the world's most complex disaster zones. Earthquakes are frequent and powerful. Hurricanes strike both coasts, droughts affect inland regions, and active volcanoes loom near major cities. Flooding and landslides worsen during the rainy season. While disasters are frequent, long experience has improved preparedness. However, the combination of geography and population density means natural disasters remain a persistent national challenge. Japan represents a unique case. It is one of the most disaster-exposed countries on Earth, yet also one of the most prepared. Earthquakes occur constantly, sometimes daily. Tsunamis threaten coastal areas. Volcanoes remain active. Typhoons strike annually with extreme force. What prevents Japan from ranking higher is its advanced infrastructure, early warning systems, and disaster culture. Even so, the psychological and economic burden of constant disaster readiness places Japan firmly in the upper half of this ranking. Now the danger escalates sharply. The Philippines is struck by some of the strongest typhoons on the planet, often several times a year. These storms bring flooding, landslides, storm surges, and massive displacement. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions add further risk. Many communities are hit repeatedly before fully recovering. Natural disasters here are not occasional events. They're a recurring cycle of destruction and rebuilding. Indonesia sits directly on the Pacific Ring of Fire, making it one of the most geologically unstable countries on Earth. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are common, sometimes deadly. Tsunamis have wiped out entire communities. Flooding and landslides occur regularly during heavy rainfall. Disasters overlap, compound, and repeat. In some regions, survival depends on constant adaptation to nature's instability. Indonesia's exposure is relentless. Bangladesh is one of the most disaster-vulnerable nations in the world. Cyclones regularly strike its coastline. Flooding affects massive portions of the country each year. River erosion displaces millions. Rising sea levels threaten long-term habitability. Even moderate storms can become national emergencies. High population density and low elevation magnify every disaster. For Bangladesh, nature is not an occasional threat. It is a permanent one. At the top of the ranking is Pakistan. Few countries face such a wide range of extreme disasters with such frequency. Floods can submerge entire provinces. Earthquakes strike mountainous regions. Heat waves reach deadly temperatures. Glacial melting creates sudden flooding risks. What makes Pakistan the most affected is not just frequency, it's unpredictability. Disasters arrive in different forms, often back-to-back, leaving little time to recover. Climate change has amplified every threat. Natural disasters are often described as acts of nature, but their impact depends on geography, preparation, population pressure, and climate. While some countries face disasters as rare interruptions, others endure them as a constant reality. As climate change accelerates, the gap between the least affected and the most affected nations continues to widen, and for some countries, the future looks increasingly uncertain.